Hello, welcome. Happy Friday. Welcome in. How are you doing today? Drop it in the chat. How are you doing? How's your week been? And did you use your energy the way that you wanted to this week? Or did you find yourself wasting it on something that wasn't worth your time? If you're tuned in today, you know potentially if you watch my other videos that I do have weekly sessions. They're called Her Work Life Wellness Sessions. And today is going to be a teaser at that session. And if you're someone like me, you like having boundaries. And in that session, we're going to be talking about how to create more boundaries in your life as an ambitious woman and how to just feel more energized and how to stop wasting your time with things that aren't worth your time. And to ease into that, we're going to be talking about saying no. One of my favorite things. I love saying no to people because that is the best thing. Also, I hope you're able to hear me. I haven't tried using my headphones or my microphone in my lives yet, and I'm also on my laptop. So hopefully the setup is good. Um, and yeah, but with that, I wanted to start off with why this topic is so important to me because for me, saying no is what truly saved my life because I promise you, in about like 2018, 2019, I really wasted a lot of time. Okay, sounds good. That's perfect. I wasted a lot of time in 2019 saying yes to things that I didn't agree with, and I feel like I could have said no to so much that not only my family was asking for, but friends and just associates that I didn't even like care for or that I didn't even they didn't have any value in my life. So I really think that if we as women learn to say no to more things that are put on us, that we would have more time to do the things that we actually want to do and we would actually be more ahead in life. Because a lot of times as women, we have to take on a lot of things that people don't want to do. Like it's just kind of what happens, especially if you're a girl who's really nice or you were raised to just be likable and you kind of don't want to ruffle any feathers. Naturally, we as women just want to be the nice ones. We don't want to be problematic. And if you're like me, you were just raised in a way where you kind of just wanted the praise, you want the approval from your parents and from your friends to just be likable, to agree with what's going on, and to just go with the program. Because if you don't, then you're difficult. You're somebody who people don't want to be friends with, they don't want to work with. And I'm here to say and to shout from the rooftops that you do not have to say yes to everything and you can say no, and this primarily happens in the workplace, yes, but it happens for the most part because we're raised a certain way or we just have friends, family that really put us down so bad to the point where we're not comfortable asking for what we want and with saying how we really feel in certain situations. Like if somebody's asking us to stay after work and we don't want to do it, we should easily be able to say no. But a lot of times, I know from my experience, I've done things even recently that I didn't agree with, whether that's even if you're not somebody working at a corporate job or in a physical place, maybe you're taking on a project. Like I recently took on a project where maybe their urgency was a lot more urgent than their urgency to pay. And I read a quote recently about your urgency to have somebody else get the work done should be the same amount of urgency that you do on your behalf to pay that person to get that work done in that amount of time. So I'm not saying that I want to preface this with saying I'm not saying that you should not step outside your comfort zone if you want to do things that are maybe a little bit uncomfortable or that you don't want to do. I'm just saying that you should take on the risk factors of doing that and think, what are the risks of doing this thing? Is it going to hurt my character? Is it going to hurt my values? Or is it going to actually help me grow and benefit me in the long term? Because I know as women, we can also undermine ourselves and we don't actually think that we have the strength or we have the potential to take on more. So we do need to put ourselves in certain situations to challenge ourselves, but at the same time, you want to do things that you want to do. So in certain situations, such as work, we need to be able to separate ourselves from doing things that we don't want to do to things that we do want to do. Like in certain situations, if someone's giving you a project that you don't want to do, you shouldn't have to do that project. But if it's going to help you grow, if it's helping you learn maybe how to be a better communicator or how to work with a strict timeline, that could be something that you can put on your resume. So if it's something that's beneficial, you can definitely do that. And if it's something that is going to make you step outside your comfort zone, I would highly suggest doing that because it's going to actually benefit you in the long term. But if you feel like it's going to hurt your time or it's going to take away in any kind of way, then you need to make it clear that you need more time to do the project. You need to stretch out the timeline a little bit so that it can still work within a timeline that works for you. Because if it's going to make you stay up all night trying to get that work done or trying to stay on top of that project, then you want to make sure that you have the right amount of time to do your best work without losing sleep. Because I definitely don't agree with losing sleep or pulling all nighters. Because long story short, when I was in college, I did have a professor that wanted or that put the expectation out there that it's okay to stay up until and it's okay to stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning and still get up at 7 o'clock in the morning because that's what he did. But me, I know that that's not going to work for me to stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning and still wake up at 7. That's 3 hours of sleep. So I don't know how on a consistent basis that's going to work for the average person, especially women, because we do highly depend on our nervous system. And if you're staying up that late, it's just not going to work in general because it's beyond just a time thing and a respect thing, but it's also messing with your circadian rhythm, the way your body clock naturally works, and it's going to impact in the long term in regards to your health. And you can do your research on that, but I think that would be also an interesting thing to talk about in the future about how sleep impacts your body. But when it comes to doing things that you don't want to do, it definitely does. It definitely takes away from your time, takes away from your sleep when it comes to work, and when it comes to your personal life, it does impact that as well. I see a comment here. It says, I have overextended myself for friends that have asked me for help, sometimes into the early morning hours and the end. So you're saying you had friends that asked you for help early in the morning. I definitely could see how that's gonna throw off your day. Obviously, if they're asking you to do something early in the morning, they didn't even did they ask you if you had other things to do, or did they ask you did you have time to do that? Because I know that if they're asking you that early in the morning, yep, I would say definitely if they're asking you that early, I don't think the same person would ask that early for you to do anything. Maybe they would I would unless they're asking you to do something like, "Hey, just want to reach out and let you know, I need you to come into the office today and fill out some paperwork this morning. when you get into the office. That that's a different thing. Like, okay, they're telling you, they're giving you a heads up, but if they're telling you to do something like right then and there, that's when I think things get a little bit rocky or things get a little bit pushy when they want you to do it right away. So it went over until 2 a.m. It was evening until late hours. Yeah, 2 a.m., that's crazy. To tell somebody to be up that late is crazy. And I think in those situations, when you're working on commitments for somebody else that late, it can get really overwhelming because then like you're so deep into what somebody else asks you, but it can throw you off from what you're doing. And what I want to get into today is also that time is luxury. When you have choice over your time and you're able to decide what you want to do with your time, you're able to do whatever you want to do. So if you do want to work more with that extra time, you're able to use that time and to pour it into yourself and invest into yourself because when somebody asks you to do something, you're going to go out of your way and do if you're somebody that's raised to people please or you're raised to put other people's needs before yourself, that can really throw off your day and that could really make you just feel funny, like you don't really know what's wrong until you really check in with yourself and realize, "What did I do for myself today, and what caused me to feel this way, and, like, why do I feel so frantic and overwhelmed?" Even though on the outside, I feel so put together, and I've come to the conclusion that a lot of that is because when somebody sees that you have your life together and maybe they feel like they're not where they want to be or they feel like they're not either not making the amount of money they want to make or they're not the kind of person that they can trust themselves to do the work that they want you to do, they end up putting so much on you and they end up kind of just leaving you to pick up their pieces that they don't want to do. Like in a certain situation where in friendships, for example, like you said, maybe you were talking more about a friend. That's something that I think a lot of us can relate to. Is like when you have a needy friend who calls you, maybe they just get off work and they're calling you and talking about drama, whether they're talking about maybe another friend that they are going through something with, or they're going through something at home. They without even thinking about it, they're actually being the kind of friend who's emotionally dumping on you, or we call it emotional support friends who are constantly dumping things on you and they consider you as a friend that yeah, you're an open ear to them, but they don't realize that when they're pulling so much from you, but when you stop giving them that energy, then you realize that this same person that is taking and taking and taking from me, they're not even pouring into me and they're not really giving me that same energy. And in those situations, they don't end up really good. And I've been in friendships like that as well, where you're constantly pouring into somebody. But also, I've been in situations where maybe I feel like I could have given more in that friendship, or I could have poured back into that person, but when I stopped when I realized and I stopped doing that, I realized that what is of substance with this friendship and how are we actually positively impacting each other and how are we actually enjoying our time together rather than trauma dumping and just wasting our time. So in those situations, you realize that either you're somebody that's too emotionally dependent or there's somebody that is just they're just not where they need to be. And I do believe in those situations you have to learn to pull back and to pour back into yourself. And I know it can be really hard in those situations to say no, but you have to realize that you are the writer of your own story and this is your wellness journey. So if you need a break, if you need time to yourself to maybe you just don't want to be around people that day, or maybe you're just tired of just doing so much because not only are you working, maybe you're going to school because a lot of us are working full time and still trying to get another degree, or we haven't gotten our degree and we're trying to get some kind of education to grow in our career, then you might need to cut off some of those friends, whether that's for good, or you might have to just let them know that, hey, like, I don't have the bandwidth to engage with you at this time. And I think that you're kind of putting a lot on my plate right now. And while I do want to be friends, I do need us to talk about things that are more uplifting. I do want us to spend more positive time together and enjoy our time, because bringing negative energy into our space is just, it's not really helping our friendship. And I do want us to be friends, but I think that if we keep going down this path, then we're not really gonna get anywhere with our friendships. I don't think we're gonna be friends for long if these are things that we're talking about. But one thing I noticed is that a lot of friendships, they're not very of substance. And I don't know if it's because I feel like maybe I just have to be that person to break the ice, but I have experience in a lot of my past and current friendships that it can be really challenging to let friends know that they're draining my energy, or to say no to certain situations. But I have gotten a lot better at it, and I would kind of consider myself an expert at saying no at this point, because it's easy for me to say no, but it can be difficult to know why it's so difficult to bring up the issue of time wasting and the issue of just negative energy that experiencing in different friendships. Like, I do have, I am experiencing some situations with friends where it is hard to talk about those kind of things. But I think it's all about just seeing, like, is it worth your time to go to talk about that right now? Or should you just kind of just pull back a little bit from that friendship? Because I think in bringing that up, sometimes it does make people feel like you're attacking them or you're trying to pick a fight with them. But talk about what you mean by friendships of substance. I would say friendships of substance, to me, I was thinking about that earlier, about if I were to attract more friendships that are in alignment with myself. And while I do have great friendships, and I'm always building on my friendships, but to me, having friendships of substance means that you're pouring into that person and they're also pouring into you. And that could be pouring in, saying words of affirmation and uplifting each other, because I feel like a lot of times people kind of don't understand the value of friendships being uplifting. It can be really helpful to hear from your friends that they're supporting you, even if they're not so vocal about it, that it's nice to just hear from somebody else that they're supporting you and that they're in your corner, because you're as you're building in your career, it can feel very lonely when you're not surrounded by people that are supporting you. So friendships of substance is friendships that aren't just about gossip, that aren't just about going out and going to the movies or going to the clubs or whatever people are doing these days. And it it goes beyond the surface, where when you need a friend, you're able to call somebody. Like, who can you call when you're feeling drained or when you really just need somebody to talk to? So there it is. Okay, yeah, I'm glad that that makes sense. But I know it's just really nice to have friends that really get you. And I think that's really what it means to have a friendship of substance. And so when you realize that certain people in your space need to be either you need to reduce your time with them or you need to get rid of them entirely. You will start making time for space to just explore what do you want to do with your time? How do you want to grow as a person? And how are you going to pour into yourself, whether that be giving yourself words of affirmations? You want to see what energy supplements you need to start with gaining more focus or gaining more energy, just getting resources that you need to get the energy you need to do what you want to do. Because you'll once you start getting rid of people, you will get to a point where you're bored at that point where you don't know what to do because you don't have any more drama, you don't have any more energy, vampires sucking all of your energy. You're gonna realize that you need to be around people that are healthy and that are on the same path as you. So it doesn't stop. Your journey doesn't stop after you get rid of the people that aren't of substance or the coworkers that aren't of substance, even though, you'll see them at work, but you don't have to feed into them or you don't have to give them the benefit of wasting your time or anything that you don't have to do in order to keep your job, you don't have to do at work. And you'll realize that you will have more time to join wellness communities, to connect with women who value what you value. So, in doing that, you learn that time is luxury and it's so important to say no because when you say no to what you don't want, you will make room for what you do want. And that I don't think it's talked about enough how liberating that is. A wellness community, what is a wellness community? A wellness community can be a variety of things. Like it could be a workout class, it could be maybe just a virtual community where there's a ton of communities online on Eventbrite. Like I would even count her work life wellness sessions as a community because when you join in those moments of joining that live session, that is a community. I think sometimes we overthink community and we think that it has to be something bigger than it is. But I was looking at a post the other day of a Pilates class. Oh my gosh, my light died, but the lighting is still good. I have a light over here as well. But I was gonna say that so I was looking at a post about a Pilates class, and it mentioned that like there was a post showing people of different ages and people of different backgrounds all participating in just the act of getting their bodies together. They're all doing Pilates and they're all on their wellness journey. And in that moment, I realized your community doesn't have to be I mean, they don't necessarily have to be your friends, but it could be people that you see on a regular basis. And if you end up connecting with those people, they can be your friends. But it's all about finding community and going to places that you want to be because of your own will. And I think that in doing that, we learn to make the most of our time and we learn to value our time by actually participating in those kind of communities that feed into us. And yeah, like with like minded individuals, like you said. And when you're in those kind of spaces, you'll learn to fall back in love with yourself and fall back in love the with the life that you're creating because sometimes we get lost in the journey of building a career and the lost in the journey of just exerting ourselves and doing the most work and in this rat race of who can do the most work and who can get the most money and who can be the most successful. But at the end of the day, when we're all retired, when we can't work anymore, now we're leaning on our community. We're leaning on the connections we made. And that is why time is it's invaluable because when you have time, you can connect with people in a more meaningful way. You can start enjoying your life the way you want to. you can enjoy that work life balance, and you end up falling in love with your journey because your journey is a journey that you make. It's a journey that you can enjoy because it's your journey. And whether you choose to go on this wellness route or you end up just wanting to spend time with yourself, even if you're not somebody who's super into wellness, you will have more time to just explore yourself. You'll have more time to learn about yourself and to connect with like minded people. And it's just a journey of just learning how to be your best self. That's the most important thing, is just learning how to navigate your wellness journey beyond just work or beyond just doing things just to feel productive. So once you get into this flow and once you start saying no, you will get to the point where you're able to say yes to certain situations that make you happy and that make you feel like you're living the life that you want to live. And that's the main goal here. So if you are somebody that wants that community, I would highly suggest joining, or definitely going to the weekly Her Work Life Wellness sessions and participating in those, asking questions, and engaging in the chat, because those questions are answered and you will feel like you are connected to a community. Um, I have a question here. It says, before I started listening to you, I did not think about my work life balance, but now you have me considering it. I'm so happy to hear it. That's literally my goal. My goal is to help women achieve work life balance and to feel like they're enjoying their lives and to feel energized, happy, and that's just the message. The message is to feel good, to feel like you're enjoying your life, and to feel like you can do anything with what you're the life that you're creating. You're able to create anything that you want. You're able to live, whether that you want to go to work, you want to make money, but then after work, you want to paint or you want to do something you're passionate about. You want to be a sculptor or an artist or do whatever, because our work is not our life. That's merely what we do to make money, and it's not our end all be all. It's literally just the beginning of who we are, and it's just the service level. And I think what inspired me to get into this work life wellness area and just mindset is just I hate it when people ask like, what do you do for a living? Because that's actually the least important thing, or it's really just the least interesting thing. I think we need to find meaning in our passions and what we really love. So if what you're doing for work is what you love, that's another story. But if you're somebody who's just working and you don't feel happy with where you are and you just don't enjoy clocking in, but you enjoy just getting the money obviously and like going home and doing crochet, or you love just spending time with your family or your friends, that's something that you can look forward to. But it's kind of hard to enjoy life if you don't have a good work life balance and you don't feel like you have a way to navigate your work life. So if you are struggling with it, I definitely recommend finding a community and just learning more about your personality type and how how you use energy is so important. Learning about your personality in terms of how you use your energy, whether you're a perfectionist or you're somebody who overthinks, or in whatever way you use your energy, it's important to learn how that impacts your energy. When they ask you that, did you feel like they were connected connecting living to your occupation, yes, I would say when people ask me, "What do you do for a living?" I mostly get that when I go to networking events. I used to love networking events, but I feel like I really don't like it anymore because when people ask you what you do for a living, I think that we don't really see the value in people when they do something that maybe you just don't deem as an important job, or maybe not like the highest paying or prestige job. So yes, when I would get asked like, "What do I do for a living?" I just kind of felt like the only thing that mattered was my occupation, but what I did in my free time or what my passions were or the person that I really am wasn't something that mattered. So I really just fell in love with the work-life balance aspect because it's something that makes you feel excited about work, and I'm really just excited to just go on this journey of just talking about it from the rooftops of work-life balance and indulging in the fun of life. Obviously, like getting your work done, but getting it done efficiently so you can have more time to do what you want to do. So, yep, yes, you that's true. You are judged by your occupation. Yes, that's absolutely true. And also I noticed that I don't know how true this is, but I am under the impression that most people only hang out with people that maybe they're not in their occupation, but they hang out with people that are adjacent to their occupation. Like real estate agents might hang out with like attorneys or doctors or people that they think are on their level per se. So I think that that oftentimes happens unless they were to like obviously like meet somebody outside of their work. But I think that a lot of times we meet people in our line of work and we kind of just get comfortable in doing that and we create our own bubbles, and then our work kind of just becomes our world. And I think that's where a lot of the imbalance comes from when we end up just kind of associating ourselves with what we're used to instead of actually looking at the whole world and just breaking outside our comfort zone and learning about other people and just like enjoying life a little bit more and stepping outside of your comfort zone. Yes, true. In most cases, they travel in the same circles, yes. And I think that as adults, I don't think that's a good way to live because it kind of makes life a little bit more boring when you're only hanging out with people in your circle. And like, I just don't see how that's interesting because for me, I'm interested in being around like-minded people. I don't necessarily wanna be around like, my background is industrial design, product design, but I don't necessarily like hanging out with just product designers and industrial designers or people in the design industry. I just feel like it's just a bubble and it's a clique. And I think that sadly, in a lot of cases, you have to entertain and indulge in those circles so that you can get jobs and kind of have to rub shoulders a little bit. But I don't think that's right to do that. Oh yes, also overthinking perfectionism over here. Oh, overthinking perfectionist over here. Yes. Yes, I highly relate to that. I'm also somebody who struggles with perfectionism because that, let me tell you, being a perfectionist will waste so much time and it will literally drain you. I am under the impression that if we're able to overcome our perfectionism, we would be able to get done at least 3 times the amount of things that we actually get done in the day because I'm under the impression that when when you're overthinking, you could have spent time doing like 10 other things. So sometimes also when we're spending so much time on different tasks, it can actually seem like it's taking forever, but it's really not. It would have been done in like 10 minutes. So I love variety and networking. I am so big on meeting people. Yes. I I think meeting people is so good for work-life balance because the nice thing about it is you can schedule in time to meet people or to just mingle. And you one thing I like to think about is scheduling in time in the middle of your workday, or either you probably won't have time before, but like after your work day, scheduling in like 30 minutes to an hour at least. You can schedule in like a happy hour, or it's not really a happy hour, but it's like you can pretend like it's a happy hour and just go out, socialize, and use that time to use that time for yourself to meet people, to enjoy just a social hour for yourself. So having that time is also good. You don't have to do it every day, but I would challenge you to do that. To instead of going to just networking events, maybe spending like 30 minutes to an hour just going out and talking to people, whether that's at like a find like a random happy hour, a social hour somewhere at like a cocktail bar, or like if you don't drink, like go to maybe like a smoothie bar or a health bar or something like that. If there's one in your area, but you can be creative with it. Go somewhere where there's a lot of people that just got off work, and use that as a chance to like chat and like network, because I think that a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this too, I go to networking events and I wait for networking events because I think that's the only time or way for me to like go out and like socialize and meet new people. But I would suggest going out of your comfort zone and trying something different. So that would be really good to just break outside your comfort zone. I do want to say that wrapping up, um, as we learn to say no and as we learn to create these boundaries, we do learn that we will have the confidence of people at the level of CEO, entrepreneur, the artists out there who are independent and free. Will learn that freedom and just the luxury of time isn't put aside for just people who are wealthy. Maybe you are wealthy. I'm not saying you're not, but it's not just set aside for the elite or people who that we just feel like are just so beyond us at this moment. If you're building in your career and if you're at the beginning, middle, or even just at the end, and maybe you're just not where you want to be, you don't have to feel like time is something out of your reach, because if you play your cards right, you learn how to build the right boundaries, and you learn to say no, you will learn that saying no is fun. And if you have more time for yourself, you get to create the life you want. You get to enjoy your life. What does that say? Sorry. It's hard to read. Have been working on it in the last couple of weeks. Artwork and open mic night that was outside of my comfort zone because I spoke. Okay, that's good. Art walk, not art walk. Okay. That's really cool. Going to art walks, and sounds like you've been going outside your comfort zone, and I think that's good. When you go outside of your comfort zone, you learn to like the more you do it, the more bandwidth you're gonna get, and you're just gonna end up being more confident. Confidence is something that is so important for work-life balance as well, because a lot of us are just thrown behind a computer. They show us how to work and they just say, do the work. And they don't teach you how to be confident. So you just got to learn how to build that confidence in yourself. And doing things like that is going to help you. So keep doing that, because that is inspiring. Honestly, like you just stepping outside your comfort zone, that's going to be really good and it's going to add up in the end. So definitely keep doing that and stepping outside of your comfort zone, because it might feel like it's uncomfortable or it takes a lot of energy right now, but the more you do it, you'll build your energy and stamina up, and you'll be able to do a lot more than you ever thought you would be able to do. So I'm so excited for next week for her work life wellness sessions. We will be talking about how to create those boundaries as an ambitious woman without burning out. So, if you're somebody who is excited to build the life of your dreams and to build your career without feeling burnt out, then you're going to want to register for that. I did put that in the link in the description. And I do want to ask to leave you with two questions. The first question is, what is something you wish you said no to recently? You can put that in the comments or in the live chat. And then the second question is, do you struggle more with saying no at work with with friends or with family? Let me say that again. I messed up. Do you struggle more with saying no at work, with friends, or with family? So where do you feel like you struggle with when you're setting those boundaries? So take some time, think about those two questions. This was a really fun girls chat. I really had fun, and I do want these to be about like 30 to 40 minutes. I don't want to go over like 45 definitely, but just a quick chat every other Friday. So I will be seeing y'all not next Friday, but in 2 weeks on Friday. Great talk, big points, learning to say no and learning to value your time. Yes, exactly. Those are the main things. Learning to say no and learning to value your time is so important. So, yep, I agree. Friends and family can be hard to say no. I think it's easier to say no to coworkers because you don't really know them that well, and it's easy because I mean, you don't have to go home and explain why you said no. You just say no. Like you don't need to really give an explanation. Most of the time when you say no, it's easy. What was your other question? The other question was what is something you wish you said no to recently? So, in this recent time, was there a time when somebody told you to do something or asked you to do something that you wanted to say no to, but you didn't? So, in that situation, what was said that you could have said no to? So, that is something that's probably easier for us to remember because it's something that happened recently. So, you can drop that down below. But this was so fun. I always feel like my throat hurts like whenever I'm going on live. So I always bring some water. And I'm excited. And this is gonna be a great weekend. The session next week is gonna be great and it's gonna be real fun. Yes, coordinating a black oh let me see. Oh, coordinating Black History program. How much did you have to do with that program? Like what was your part in that program, and what did they ask you to do? Did they ask you to throw the whole program? But I'm so excited for just what's coming. I'm in high spirits in growing this platform. And like I said, in the last Her Work Life Wellness sessions, I want to do more vlogging, like more behind the scenes, because I do want to show the journey of what it's like in real life. Like, what does work life balance even look like? Um, it was frustrating and stressful. Yes, I got asked or volunteered to do the program. See, you got to stop doing that. You got to say no, because imagine what you could have done with that time. But it's okay. I wouldn't be too hard on yourself about it because it can be hard because you do want to prove yourself, but you know, maybe it would be helpful to ask somebody else to help with that because it can be a lot, especially if it's last minute because Black History Month, it goes by quick. So you got to like do it and just get it done. But if you have work or you have life, that could really like throw things off with that. So hopefully you're able to, oh, you volunteered. Mm, okay. Well, hopefully you're able to recover from that and to just learn to balance your time and to just say no. Like, what think about what you could have done. Like if it was something you wanted to do, then that's fine. But if you didn't want to do it, then think about what you could have done with that time and how you could have found more fulfillment through something that you really wanted to do. But at least if they made you do it, like do it how you want to do it and don't tell them how don't let them tell you how to do it. Do it how you want to do it and at least get something out of it. Put it on your resume or put it in your portfolio if you have like a portfolio for like project management. Like make it something positive for yourself at least. Like something that's going to benefit you and that will make you feel good after doing it. So hopefully that was something that you felt good even if maybe you didn't want to do it, but know that the next time you need to say no and or just find find something that's going to really benefit you because you want to balance your time and you want to be able to feel good about if you're going to fully commit to something, you're going to feel passionate about it and you're going to do your best work when it's something you want to do. So with that being said, I want you to think about those two questions. What is something you wish you said no to recently? Put that in the comments. And the second question is, do you struggle more with saying no at work, with friends, or with family? But okay, that's good. At least it went great. I'm glad it went great. And that's good. I mean, at least you're celebrating Black History Month. That's a good cause. So I would say that's a win. That's a win. Just make sure you put it on your portfolio and make sure you get the benefit. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you for just participating in the questions and for just challenging yourself. I know it's not easy breaking outside of what you're used to and to really just think about places where you're going wrong because when you're deep in life, like you don't have time to challenge yourself. So when there's moments for us to challenge how we're thinking about life, it's really helpful and it challenges us to change and to do better. So thank you so much for joining today. And I do again want to say that if you want to register for her work life wellness sessions, you can register below. There's also one-on-one coaching sessions available as well as the elevated energy reset linked below as well. So if that's interesting to you, make sure you check that out. But other than that, thank you so much for joining. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you in 2 weeks in the next Girls Chat. Have a good night or day whenever you're watching this. Bye.